Hello and welcome to the Volleycast. I am your host, Joe Trinzi, and on the other line, the newest professional volleyball mogul, Jordan Larson.
What's up? Good to be back.
Jordan, you're bringing professional volleyball to the United States. I, for one, am excited. I know you are.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be fun, and yeah, I'm hopeful that it's gonna be a start in the right direction. I know it's been attempted a few times, but I think this is gonna be a good start.
Yeah, and it's definitely not been attempted in this way before. So basically, as I'm understanding it, there's going to be like 48 players that are involved in the league. So that would make 4 teams of 12, pretty standard volleyball roster. And it's going to be a 6-week season, something like that.
Yeah, roughly. Yep.
Okay, so like a 6-week season and like all 48 players. And basically, you're going to play a bunch of matches and sort of continuously mix up the teams. And the goal is sort of like an individual, like a queen of the beach almost, like an individual champion will come out of the season. Is that sort of the idea?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and obviously that's like a bonus structure, right? Like how it's set up financially. And so like there's certain bonuses for certain points, and obviously wins and losses like hold some weight. And so yeah, it's definitely a unique concept. Like you said, it's something that's never been done before, which I mean, it's never been able to take off before. So why not try something like different? And they've started in softball and now they're doing volleyball. And so I don't know, I think it's just a really cool concept.
You know, I think it's really interesting, and I'm not very interested in it. I think I'm different than the typical professional sports fan. But I find professional sports like challenging because it's like weirdly illogical. Like Jerry Seinfeld has the old joke about like you're just rooting for laundry. You know, like the players are playing. Like I understand collegiate sports, people feel loyalty to their college. It's kind of like their hometown. But I'm not sure that model works as much. And it makes me wonder if that's been some of the difficulty with getting pro sports leagues off the ground. Is like people don't feel the allegiance to professional. But what they're interested in, I think, is the individual players. So this is kind of taking that. I mean, if you look at like fantasy football is almost arguably more popular than football itself.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And
But
I think
that's
that's
kind of the purpose here.
yeah. And I think that's what they were kind of striving for, right? Like more media behind the individual versus like necessarily like a team, right? Because you can't really, there's no set team, right? Like you're constantly changing every week. There's going to be like 4 captains or 4 people that maybe were like top of the leaderboard, and then they get to draft the team. And I think we're still talking about like if we're drafting coaches or not, like how that works. And you know, so it's interesting. It's going to be
Who will be the first coach drafted, and why will it be me?
I mean,
I'm ready. I'm getting ready to get on the plane, Jordan. Come on.
All right. I'll let them know. So yeah, no, I think what is also cool about it is just that it's all like athlete driven, right?
Yeah.
And so we have this athlete advisory board, and we get to make a lot of the decisions, and I think that is super cool. And yeah, it's been a unique experience, something I've never experienced before, but it's been a lot of fun too to kind of navigate that and kind of inner workings of where like a business starts. So that's cool.
I don't want to ask you all like the boring questions you've probably already been asked. I'm just ready to dive like deep into the strategy of how you can win this thing.
Yeah,
So
that's a great question. We're still trying to figure out like how like values change, right? Like, because as an outside hitter, right, like I do all the skills, right? But as an opposite, like your job is mainly to produce points,
right,
most of the time, right? And so how can we like level that value out, and how does every skill matter, right? And I think it'll be interesting to see how we can like navigate that, and how like statistically we can like come up with a plan that is good for everyone, right? Because there are middle blockers in the world that are like the best in the world and contribute like significantly to their team, and without them they wouldn't win. So how can we create that value in this system?
if only you knew somebody who dedicates a huge portion of his life to statistically analyzing the minute nuances of volleyball.
You know,
Potentially help you out with that question.
I might be looking at him right now.
All right. So yeah, I mean that's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really hard for a libero to win it, you know, because theoretically it's not uncommon actually that you will receive more serves than the libero because people don't want to target the libero. They want to target it from an outside hitter. So how do you make those passes? But I think those are things like that kind of be solved. And I'm just going to assume that means you're in the front running for winning it. Like you said, outside hitter, you do everything. It's got to be an outside or an outside. I mean, yes, I don't know if you kind of make all those things. I wonder, how's the draft going to work? Is it going to be, it's got to be live. Don't tell me you guys are going to chicken out and it's going to be behind closed doors. I want to know, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Again, we haven't really gotten to that point. Obviously, you've seen that only a couple of us have signed on because it's still like very new in a sense of like still like trying to get the inner workings and like what does that mean? What does it look like? Is that what people want? Right? Like, is that what people want to see? And I
Yes.
think you're right. I think people would want to see that. So I think if that's, people want to be in touch with the players, and so I think if they can be a part of that process, then like why not? So I think we're still trying to figure that out and have those conversations, but that's a very, very good one. So
Yeah. I think that people would be, I mean, for sure fascinated by that. I think there would be a lot of people that'd be interested in it, like for the drama of it. But like, even forgetting that, I think it just, like the NBA has like experimented with that with like the All-Star game or something like that, which is, I think, one thing that I'm thinking of is like, how do you avoid the feeling of it being like an exhibition that like is not as big of a deal? And like, how do you kind of segue that? And what I'm curious about is it looks like there's some incentives for the players to win. It's not like, like the NFL All-Star game where like nobody even wants to play in it. Like,
yeah,
is there going to be like some cash prize on the line? Like if you win
for
some of these?
sure. Again, like there's like win loss is going to probably weigh the most, right? But it's going to be like, there's going to be two double headers a day basically. And then you're playing automatically 5 sets. And so every point matters. I mean, it's like I don't know, every set matters. And so I think going off of that and that detail, I think that adds one incentive, obviously a sense of urgency, right? Like,
Yeah.
if I win this set, I don't know what the actual breakdown is, but, like there's certain incentives to do that because you're going to get a bonus. So yeah, I think that's what's cool about it.
Are you guys, would love it if you guys went World Series of Poker style? When they get down to the final table, they like put all the money so that, like the guys are like sweating it out. Like when they see that, like you go back and it's 20, it's 14-14 or 24-24 or whatever it is like that. And you like look over and there's $10,000 over on the sidelines. Serving like a little dicey. I think that'd be kind of fun.
I'm with you. Yeah. Again, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but I'll keep that in mind.
I like it. I definitely think it would be interesting to have some sort of draft. I'd imagine, I don't know if you guys would have rules about like you can't pick the same player twice in a row or 3 times in a row or something like that. And if you were going to do like, is that one of the rules? It's going to be you automatically play all 5 sets?
Again, I'm sorry I don't have a lot of the answers to this question. We don't know yet. I think these are all things that I think we're gonna see, like kind of how softball runs and
Yeah.
see
Could
how that
softball
goes.
start in August?
August, yep. So, and I think see how that goes. They have almost a full roster done. I think they're waiting to see like some other players, but yeah. So it's just kind of we need to hammer down that stuff, right? Like, so it's again very athlete driven, and so like us core athletes are going to come to that decision of what that looks like. It has to be, right? Like you can't, if you're picking the same players, right, like every week, then what's the point of a draft, right? Like, so you kind of have to, mix it up. But also I'm sure people are going to outperform other people like on a weekly basis. So if someone's outperforming someone, but I chose that person that week, I'm probably going to choose the person better,
You probably have to have some sort of, 5 sets actually might even be a little tricky because you may need to have some sort of playing time rule because theoretically, if players are being incentivized on things other than winning and losing, if you're just incentivized on winning and losing, then the playing time incentives don't necessarily matter. But if you're getting bonuses for kills or something like that, it's kind of lame. Like if I'd be pretty mad at the coach, like if I never get a chance to play. So probably figuring out something like that, or like you said, if you're going to do guaranteed, you play 5 sets or 4 sets, or like, I don't know. I've been a long time proponent of 1 set to 100. So like just throwing that out there, or time, like just straight hour, something like that. That's pretty interesting. I saw the press release says it's going to be held in one city in the Southeast. Is that from softball or volleyball? Like, I'm not pressuring you for like the city or whatever like that, but is that correct for volleyball? One city in the Southeast?
Yes.
Okay.
we still haven't released it yet. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
we're getting down to one city, and yeah, I can't officially say
yeah,
that
yeah.
yet,
No,
but yeah, it's getting close. So
that's cool. I think that's would you think I mean, pressing you all for details and some of this is like
no,
long
you're good.
term, but would is the goal to make that city like the home of it long term, or is it going to be like, oh, this 6 weeks is in this city, but next year this 6 weeks in another city?
We've thrown out different ideas. I
Yeah,
think initially it was like multi-city, right? But then when
yeah,
you're sitting here thinking about drafting and playing 3 matches a week and travel on top of that, it just became a lot. And so I think eventually I think we hope to evolve this, right? Like I think where it's maybe struggled in the past is like they come out hot, like trying to compete with these like European clubs, and it's clubs that have been in business. I mean, like the Turkish club, 50 years. Like
yeah,
it's something that has taken some time, but like they have made a name for themselves, right? And so I think we got to start small and then like keep expanding, And so if I had to speak, I don't know the answer for sure, but I had to guess that it's going to be becoming a multi-city deal and start expanding from there. So
yeah. That I think that something like that makes a lot of sense. Like, I think when you try to go too big too quickly, I think it'd be better to have a smaller but more dedicated fan base than something spread out,
for
something
sure.
like that. Who do you see as the players that are going to play? Like my first reaction is like, well, this is really nice because a lot of players used to try to graduate early, and then go play in Puerto Rico. But the Puerto Rican leagues, they've had some financial difficulties lately, obviously with the hurricane and all that. Do you see that as like kind of a primary? And then like maybe your veterans you played your few years in Turkey, but you've made that money and you're ready to kind of come home. Is it going to be like a combination of those two?
If I had to guess, I would anticipate that. I mean, I think like me personally, like I'm going to play another season. It's a shorter season, so it's an easy thing for me to do. And like you said, I've played my years, I've done my time, and
Yeah.
this is nice to be home and to do those kind of things. But also, it's a great. I mean, I did that, right? I graduated in
Yep.
December and went to Puerto Rico. So I think it's a great opportunity also like to get kind of in because we're going to be running USA system in a sense, right? So it's a good step if you're making that next step into the national team. It's a nice like practice before you go to the national team. So I think it's setting up our national team in a good place as well. So which I don't know, I should say it's about time because I think we at this point like competing with the European teams and all that stuff, like we're kind of at a disadvantage from like initial pro like impact. That's just my personal feedback, but an opinion. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty clear advantage. Like salary wise, I was seeing for the softball, they're estimating like 1 million payroll for 56 players, so that's in the ballpark of 20 grand a player. Obviously, maybe some players will get less. I was seeing that like maybe every player would be guaranteed like 10,000. I mean, you may not have the final record, but it's like you think it's something in the ballpark there.
Yeah, again, there's a base salary, and then obviously it's base salary depending on you know their discretion, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
And then obviously the bonus structure in place. So I think there's a
yeah,
potential earning of a way more than
yeah.
what your base salary is.
Yeah, which I mean, maybe that's even 10 or 20 grand is not millions, but that's like competitive with if they're going to play a half a season. If you're going to graduate in December and play even a half a season in like the German league or something like that, you're really getting much more than that.
For
And I
sure.
think a lot of players would jump at the chance to be able to do that in the United States. And
Yeah, when you put it in perspective, I mean, 6 weeks, it's like 1 week of training and 5 weeks of competition. I mean, for that income is for
yeah,
incoming right out of college. I mean, it's hard to come by. So,
yeah. So you were saying, I think I heard you say like you're anticipating maybe like 3 matches a week
yep, three
once you
matches a week.
start.
Yep. So I think it's like gonna be like a week or 2 weeks on the front end of like training, right? Where
Yeah.
some people that maybe haven't been playing or whatever, some people are maybe coming out of retirement, woohoo, and and then obviously I think it's like up to 5 weeks of competition. So I think that's obviously we're trying to fit that in before national team starts and having enough time for that. So
Yeah, like, February to end of March or mid-February to early April, something like that, which would fit nicely. And obviously, if you're going to start a league in the United States, it'd be nice to cooperate with the national team schedule.
For sure.
So that fits in nicely, and that makes a lot of sense. That's something I was wondering about. So really, like kind of like all the training the players would kind of all do together. Then, like you'd have sort of this big combined group training camp, a couple weeks, so then everybody's kind of comfortable with each other.
Yep.
And then once you start competing, it's really going to be more like you just have a serve and pass and kind of brush up together. It's not like you're going to pick your team, do extended training with them, and anything like that.
Right. So it's pretty much will be like all training together. And then I think that was another concern that was brought up initially, was like, well, team dynamics and, these things. And of course, like it's a concern, but I think we're all going to be training together. So we all should be relatively comfortable with one another. And ultimately, like, again, it's very player driven. So like we kind of choose who gets to be a part of it, So I think it's kind of like, well, if you're not a good teammate or you're choosing to do actions, then maybe like you're not a part of it kind of thing. So I think that's been super cool too.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm just planning for when I coach one of these teams. I'm not going to be, I got to be not training focused. I got to be more tactically focused. It's really a lot about the set to set adjustments.
For sure.
Would you play are you thinking if this 3-match a week schedule, and obviously nothing is set in stone yet, would that be like 3 matches of the same teams? Like almost, like a 3-game series, and then you reshuffle the teams?
Yep.
So basically like somewhere in the ballpark of like 18 total matches, so you play like a week and then you reshuffle, play a week, and you do like 6 of those competitive weeks? Or is it going to be 2 weeks of training and then 4 weeks of competition?
Like 5 times. So what would that be? 3 times, 15 times?
50. Okay.
Yeah.
5. Okay.
Yeah.
So like a week or a little more of training, and then basically like 5 weeks, 5 rounds almost.
Rounds. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. And is that going to be like, you're going to have like some big players scoreboard? What you should really have is like 49 players, and then like whoever is lowest, they get like booted out, like every time, and then
like
you kind of shame them on the way out, a little bit.
Yeah. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah. Again, these are all things that we need to talk about and set up in place. I think we're still trying to figure it all out. And
Well, awesome. I'm really excited about it. It's definitely like a very, very different concept. And I like your idea. I think it's not a bad idea to try something a little bit different. And I think that, I don't want to say you're like competing against the major professional sports, because I think it's different, but what you're competing against, I think, is the European clubs and to some extent the Asian clubs. And I think that trying to match exactly what they're doing out of the gate without, like you said, the resources that have been built up over 50 years, it's going to be a losing battle. So a different thing. I like the short season. I like how you have like a very clear pipeline to players that are graduating that year. And especially when they think about, they don't have to graduate in December and then go overseas. Like a lot of that can be set up. Are we going to see you like prowling the sidelines of collegiate matches this fall, like kind of scouting, like, oh, okay.
She looks good. She should come. Yeah, no, for sure.
I love it.
I am going overseas still myself. And then I'll be back. But no, I think it's, like you said, it is a great opportunity. And I hope people really take advantage of it, because I think it could be good. So, and
cool.
Yeah, obviously USA Volleyball backing it, like that's huge. So again, I think that's where we've gone wrong in the past, right? Like USA Volleyball is well known, and why not use them? So yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Well, I know your time is valuable, and you're squeezing in lunch in between talking to me.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it. And it's just good to see you, good to talk to you, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and just love to see more details on this as it's coming out.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
All right, Jordan, take it easy.